Thank you.
After, of course, the House votes on Wednesday on whether to impeach the president or not, the action moves over to the Senate for a trial. With me now, somebody who would be in the Senate for that trial, Republican Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, who is back. Senator Braun, I have to start by thanking you for your patience. And I know that we wanted to listen into what Senator Mitch McConnell, your colleague, had to say there. And I appreciate you coming back to be with us. Let me ask you this. If this goes to a Senate trial, Senator, are you concerned that opening the door to witnesses, which a door that McConnell just shut, was that the right move for him to do? Or would witnesses help you defend the president, in your view?
First of all, witnesses would be a double-edged sword. If we would agree to witnesses, they'd have to agree to a list of our top 2 or 3 witnesses, and I'm sure that would tank the whole discussion right at that point. But I think here, Hallie, clearly, I heard Leader McConnell, and I think he laid out generally the point of view of our conference, and heard the response from over on the other side of the Capitol here. This has been such an orchestrated, to the point of a foregone conclusion, so far back. I think that it speaks to a couple things. For me, I look at what motivated this in the first place. And when I ran back in 2018, I did it because I wanted to come here and weigh in on stuff like getting the USMCA done.
Which I want to talk to you about in a minute, yeah.
Yes, and we'll get to that. But I think here, this has been an orchestrated event from day one. And I know that President Trump, you know, due to his style and so forth, never did suit well. And when it comes to making the case, when you eliminate somebody from office, I think the intent was so intense from the get-go. We're now seeing it play out as almost a foregone conclusion, and that's why everybody is still camped out on each side. I think that tainted the process.
You talk about a predetermined process, Senator. You talk about this being a foregone conclusion. Let me ask about your own predetermination or not.
Yes.
Have you, like some of your Senate colleagues, made up your mind on how you are going to vote? Will you vote to acquit President Trump if this gets to a trial?
So if we have no more information than what we've got now, and unless you were just hiding somewhere, we've seen it through the origination behind closed doors, and we got selectively leaked that stuff, and we heard a lot of it then. Then we heard it in the public version, and then the 4 constitutional experts. So it's not like we haven't heard a lot about it, and I think that's why belabor it? I know most Hoosiers are disappointed we're not doing other stuff. I do not want a quick dismissal, but do we need witnesses? I don't think they're going to lend much, and then you'll get to the practical concern of if they want a list of witnesses, we would want ours, and I think it belabors the point. So yes, if we do not hear anything new, I think most people have had their mind made up based upon where you were many, many months ago.
So I'm hearing you say that you would be open to a shorter Senate trial, but I want to be clear. Are you saying then that based on the evidence in front of you, you have made up your mind as a potential juror already?
Unless through hearing the same information, which I think is going to be done by the trial managers from the House, and the one thing we're going to have along with this trial is we're going to have the defenders from the president's group coming in, and it could actually make the case stronger, you know, for an acquittal in the Senate. I think we need to have due process here.
Senator, it sounds like you're saying your mind is largely made up if there's no new evidence. How is that any different from the predetermined process that you're slamming over in the House side with Democrats? How is it appropriate for you as a potential juror to go in without an open mind?
It's a political process that everybody has been trying to equate to a regular court of law, and we know that's not the case. And it begs the question, when you hear like our 5 presidential candidates that are in the Senate running on the other side using words like President Trump is disgraceful, you know, he shames the office. How, you know, there's impartiality lacking there as well. So it cuts both ways.
I have a couple more topics I want to get to, but very quickly, do you have any guidance on when this thing may start? Have you heard from Leader McConnell on that? First week of January, second week of January?
I think January 6th is the date when most of us are expecting that we will get at it in the Senate. And I think that it'll take 10 days to 2 weeks if we give the whole process its due and if it doesn't involve witnesses. So thank goodness we'll have it behind us, because most Hoosiers would love to see us do something on other things here.
Yep. And I want to talk to you about the USMCA. Before I do,
Yes.
very quickly, I know that you have seen, or I assume you have seen some of the reporting about the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. You are somebody who talks to the president. You have been in meetings with this president. Do you believe that Rudy Giuliani is helping, or is he hurting the president of the United States by saying what he's saying publicly and doing what he's doing in Ukraine?
You know, when it comes to the PR part of whatever you do, and say Rudy's effort, which I think is sincere, to defend the president, to maybe push the dialogue that this thing has been concocted from before he was inaugurated. Anything that plays into that, I think, though, it does get complicated, because the one thing that surprised me more than anything, being here a year, is how polarized we really are, and how you can take the same information and have two such different points of view about it. So when it comes to what Rudy is doing or not, again, I let a lot of that stuff go in one ear and out the other, try to get to the meat of the issue, and finally that seems to be occurring, because I think we'll have a vote for impeachment tomorrow evening. We'll see it here in the Senate after the first of the year, and then finally get this behind us.
Of course, Giuliani is acknowledging that he wanted that ambassador out. Before I let you go here, I got to talk to you about the USMCA, because that is another vote that is happening, we believe, later in the House this week. It is probably going to pass. Your Republican colleague over in the Senate side, Pat Toomey, calls this a complete capitulation. He says this diminishes free trade. Do you share any of his concerns? Are you worried that the USMCA might have issues in your chamber?
So Pat is a good core conservative. We agree on almost everything, other than he would also
not
be
on this,
one
I'm
that,
guessing.
No, not on this. And the main provision, I think, that got his hackles up would have been the fact that there weren't some protections on IP for pharma. I've been the Republican senator when it comes to the healthcare industry that says the industry is broken. All the things that we've been wrestling with, me as a CEO before I got here, you know, Pat still confuses healthcare with free enterprise. There's nothing free about it. So when it comes to some of these pure philosophical concerns that we're complaining about it because it impinges upon some of our conservative principles, you got to make sure you're not confused in terms of what those are. And I think in this case, it helps agriculture, it helps manufacturing, especially dairy farmers. It's a win-win, and finally it's getting across the finish line, where I think Speaker Pelosi was playing footsie with it. I'm glad she's seen the light, and we're going to get it done.
Senator Mike Braun joining us again here on the show. Senator, thank you for your perspective and for your patience for this as we delayed you to listen to Senator Mitch McConnell. Senator, thanks. Appreciate it. We've got a lot